Hello everyone, it's Joe here from Omnipoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon. And today we're looking at a Raichu Crobat deck, updated for XY on Standard. This is a deck that I've really enjoyed playing in the past. Pre-Trump Card ban, I played this at Nationals, so I think I know what I'm doing when I'm building this deck. And I think it's pretty well placed right now in the format. The bats provide so much help in so many different matchups, so let's hop into the deck and see why I like playing it right now. So we have a 4-4 count of the Raichu. He is our main attacker. Circle Circuit doing 20 times the number of your bench Pokemon. With Skyfield, we can go up to 8, so that's 160 damage. With Muscle Band, that you can see in the corner here, we can hit up to 180, which knocks out regular EX Pokemon really nicely. He also is a lightning typing, as you can see, so we can hit for weakness against Rayquaza. And that's a pretty popular deck right now, Speed Ray at least. They often play a 1-1 Altaria line. We can normally get around that quite easily with a simple Lysandre, and from there the prize trade is going to be very favourable. So we have a nice matchup there. As you can tell, 180, it does do a lot of damage. It doesn't quite hit the high counts for stuff like Mega Manectric, and that's exactly why we have him paired up with Bats, to try and hit the Manectrics for one hit. Other good things about Raichu, he has free retreat, which is fantastic, so we can slap him in the active position and not necessarily have to use him the entire turn. He also has 90 HP as well, so he's levelable, searchable, and we play a couple of those in the deck also. So a low energy attack that can go up to huge output. That's pretty much why we use Raichu as our main attacker. Quickly looking at the Pikachu, it has a couple of good things going for it. The Nuzzle is a main one. Flipping a coin, we can try and paralyze our opponent. This can help if we've had a slightly slower start, or if we're going second, we can try and prevent our opponent knocking out something like a Pikachu in the active. So it can help us again with prize trade. Not too important, but something I thought I may as well mention. So 4-4 count of the Raichu. So basically we need a lot of basics in play to make Raichu strong. So we've started off pairing him with a 3-3-2 line of the bats. Because it's XY on, we have to have the new Zubat, slightly more HP, but it does annoyingly have a single retreat cost. It is quite nice though, the extra 10 HP does actually really help out in a certain matchup, and that's Mienshao. Overall, the bats are fantastic for Mienshao. It's a pretty new, powerful deck, and basically the bats in general just really help us out in that matchup. The extra 10 HP means that even with a strong energy, Mienshaos can't one-hit Zubats, which is actually hilarious because of the resistance we have down here. He also has an attack called Skill Dive. You don't use it too often, but it can do 10 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. It rarely works out too nicely, but it can combo with things like Golbats maybe the following turn to kill stuff like Joltix. So the bats overall, they're fantastic for helping us get knockouts on Mega Pokemon, but also in terms of matchups right now, it can really help out against Night March, which is a popular deck. It also really helps out against Vespiquen. 2 Golbat drops can knock out Combees, which is really good for us. 2 Sneaky Bites. Also, it can help us out, like I say, with Mienshao. It can just cancel out the importance of Focus Sash, so that's really nice for us. And in terms of attacking as well, they work really well. Supercross does 10 to each of your opponent's Pokemon, and often they're going to have 2 to 3 Mienfoo on the bench and a couple of Hawlucha as well, that they sort of go into with their Mienshaos. So being able to Supercross on all of them makes it difficult for them to sort of keep them Focus Sash throughout the entire game, because they're going to be useless. The Golbat's really nice. It does have the free retreat, so if we do happen to start with Zubat, we just need to find one of these guys to move out of the active, so it's pretty cool also. Again, keeping with the trend, levelable, searchable, also that nice resistance as well. We do have 2 Crobat in here. Surprise Bite, just a slightly better version of the Sneaky Bite that we saw on the Golbat. 3 damage counters this time, really helps us finish stuff off, like I say. He has a nice attack as well, doing a 30 snipe also. Again, bringing it back to the Mienshao matchup. One of the reasons why I really like playing Raichu Bats right now. Mienshao's actually getting quite popular, and the Bats really do put it in its place. So 130 HP plus the resistance, and we can hit for weakness because Mienshao's weak to Psychic. Skill Dive does great damage, and of course we can snipe all over the board. So these Bats are hilariously good at beating Mienshaos, and also just fantastic in general for helping Raichu hit the numbers that we need to. Also, we can target down lower HP Pokemon to try and help us win prize races against these other fast decks, like Vespiquen and like Night March. So very, very nice having the 3-3-2 count of the bats in here. I'm happy with that count. There's not too much space in the deck for any more, so that's what we've gone for here. We also have a 1-1 count of Bronzong. Now, we haven't really seen Raichu use much of Bronzong. Rayquaza decks do like to play it sometimes, and for the reason why we have it in here, Metal Links can help us attach extra energy from the discard pile, can help us get multiple Raichus out so we're not too focused on using our DCEs all game. It also really helps out against Giratina. That's another popular deck right now. Toad Tina, or Tina Vileplume as well. And obviously having double Colorless attack cost, and that's the main way we set up Raichu. Very painful if we can't do that, so being able to Metal Links and single attach Metal Energies is a way around that. Also, it can help us hit through Aegislashes as well if we use just basic energy to set up a Raichu in a single turn. So I like having the 1-1 Bronzong in here. He's not too crucial, but he's really nice when you do get him set up. And again, it's an extra bench sitter at the very least to increase damage for your Raichu's attacks. Finally, the last couple of Pokemon we have 3 Shaymin EX. This is also a great attacker against Mienshao. Basically, just because Mienshao is so hyped, this is already like a really nice deck. Again, it has resistance, so you can keep using Sky Return, bouncing into other Shaymins, and basically if they can't kill a Shaymin EX, you can just keep doing that until they run out of their Robo Subs or whatever else they have, and just grind them into a win, basically. But other than it being an attacker in that matchup, the setup is the big thing, of course, for Shaymin, just getting us more cards in general. Very, very nice. Setting up the board as well to help Raichu hit harder, which is why we play a fairly high count of 3 in here. The final Pokemon we're playing is a single Bunnelby. The Rototilla is the main reason why we have him in here. A couple of important one-ofs that we have in the deck, like Sacred Ash is very, very important. Seeing as though whenever Skyfield gets knocked off as the stadium, it means that we can, we're forced to get rid of some of our bench Pokemon, so that could be very painful. Definitely if we've got rid of Sacred Ash early on in the game, it can be a pain, so having Rototilla to recover that, also recovering double Colorless Energies is really nice, so Bunnelby has earned his slot in here. Again, we can sometimes just use him for the extra 20 damage that he provides thanks to Circle Circuit, so we can happily chuck him on the bench also. On to trainers now. As you can see, 22 Pokemon, that's quite a high count, but we need it to fulfill the Raichu, and the bats take up quite a bit of space as well, so fairly streamlined in terms of trainers. We just have 2 level ball. Almost everything in the deck, other than Crobat and Shaymin, I believe, are level ball searchable, so we have plenty of targets for those things. We have the 1 Sacred Ash. I've already said why this is important, just recovering a huge amount of Pokemon. The Skyfield means we dump way more than we really should be, so 1 is definitely important in here. We have 4 Ultra Ball, just helping us get into all of our Pokemon in general, and having a maximum amount of outs into Shaymin is pretty important, I would think. You might want to play around with a 3-3 count, but just based on the amount of good quality draw supporters we have right now, I feel like Shaymin is almost a supporter in itself. So having the highest count of Ultra Ball gives us good outs of getting Shaymin in the opening turn to get us a lot of cards. So at the moment I'm happy with a 2-4 split of ball search cards. We do have 3 Trainers Mail in here as well, just helping us find other combo pieces that we need, maybe finding more Ultra Balls to fill up our bench or to find Shaymins, etc. Can also help us find some of our supporters that we play that you can see down below, so pretty nice overall. Also, it's very important finding these Skyfields at the right times. There can be annoying moments when you've got Pokemon you want to play down from your hand, but you've not quite found the Skyfield yet, so you're sort of limited in terms of your output also, so finding Skyfield and having extra outs is really nice. Next up, we have 3 VS Seeker. We don't have space for any more, I don't think, in the deck, but we are playing a few techie supporters, so it's good to try and be able to re-spam these whenever possible, so having the 3 VS Seeker really nice in here. Here are some of the supporters then. We're starting off with a single AZ. I've already mentioned how Raichu has free retreat and the Golbat and Crobat also have free retreat. It's the reason why I feel like I can get away with just playing 1 AZ and no other forms of switching cards. There's not many things that will be targeted or stuck in the active. It's annoying if we start maybe Bunnelby because that has a 2 retreat cost. Also maybe the Bronzong could be caught up at some point. It's something to be careful of, but we do have the AZ plus 3 VS Seeker. We have multiple chances to use it in terms of a switching card, but we also have the added bonus of being able to maybe pick up a Shaymin for some more cards, or pick up a bat line for extra sneaky and surprise bite damage. So overall I think it's really important having 1 AZ in here. and it's also a great way of us being able to skimp out on switching cards and sort of sneak some extra space in the deck. We are playing one Hex Maniac as well. It helps us get around Aegislash once again, and importantly it helps us get around Vileplume, which can be a real pain for this deck because we need a lot of things to get going, and if we do get hit with a turn 1 Vileplume lock, it can be very painful for us. So having the Hex Maniac, that extra card that can really help us out and actually get set up to try and overpower our opponent, it can be very useful. Next up to Lysandre. Lysandre's great just in general for helping us pick off extra prizes, can help us pick off stuff like Altaria so that we can start rolling the Rayquaza matchup. Again, it's a way of getting around pesky things that we can't really deal with otherwise. You can move Wobbuffet as well, which is a bit of an issue for this deck. We are very reliant on Shaymin drawing us cards, so Lysandre very nice there. Also in general, when we hit the late game with Raichu, it's very rare that our bench will still be 8 Pokemon. So many people are playing 3 to 4 stadiums, but there's a real stadium war on, and a lot of the time we're left without a full bench, so Lysandre's perfect for helping us pick off opposing Shaymins, because of course we do have that lightning typing, so we don't need much setup at all just to finish off those last 2 prizes. So Lysandre really helps us clean up games there. We are playing a maximum for Sycamore, just the most powerful draw support we have right now, so we've got to max him out in here as well. We're also playing 2 Shauna. I feel like just having overall more draw cards, more draw support in general is a good idea for this deck. I prefer this guy over, this girl I guess, over Birch. Because we are so fragile in the early turns in my testing, it's always better to have that 5th card than trying to roll the dice and not get it. It's up to you if you want to play Birch, but just in my testing I've found so painful when you hit that Tails and you're just left with nothing, especially because you have lower HP Pokemon. Your opponent can capitalize on that really quickly and go way too far ahead for you to come back. So I think if you have to use one of the 2, I think Shauna's the better option for this deck. But again, test it out how you like, and I know some people will always play one over the other, but I'm sort of situational. I think in this deck Shauna works a bit more nicely than the Birch would. Finally, the last supporter we're playing is a single teammates. We are playing a lot of non-EX Pokemon, so we're going to have a lot of options to use teammates. It's the only card in standard format that can get us a DCE as well, so that's pretty important in itself. We have the VS Seekers also, so we get a lot of opportunities to try and use this card to our advantage, so really nice to play one of these in here also. So finally we have the 4 Skyfield. Even though we are playing Bunnelby, I think it's very important to play a maximum 4 copies of this, because it is, at the end of the day, it is our output and we need these to get going to hit hard with Raichu, so pretty important to have a full copy there. We're also playing the 3 Muscle Band. We need it, of course. I was mentioning that we're otherwise hitting 160, which isn't quite a magical number, but with Muscle Band it's much, much nicer. Just in general as well, extra 20 damages here or there in certain matchups can be nice. Sky Returns even for Night March decks and stuff like that. Muscle Band can really help out also, so very nice to have that combo also. Finally for energy, we're playing a count of 7. 4 of them of course being DCEs. They're the lifeblood of Raichu, it's what you prefer to put on him. But we do also have the 3 metals. We can recycle them with Bronzong if we need to. So I'm pretty confident and comfortable just having a 7 count overall. So that is the deck. I think it's very well placed in the format right now. Popular decks being Manectric, Rayquaza, which is just really nice typing. The Manectric matchup, we don't care about Regice at all. And if we can play our bats effectively, that can also be a fairly equal matchup and can sometimes be in our favour, depending on what sort of text they play. If they play something like a Lugia, that can really go back in our favour. Stuff like that. Also, like Night March is very favourable, or at least average to favourable. These bats really do help out. Vespiquen, I feel like I have the advantage there because we can easily trade with each other. But again, I have these extra bat drops. And also Mienshao, this new sort of roguish deck that's sort of creeping into popularity. The bats do excellent work there as well. So let's jump into the ladder now and see what we can come up against. So it looks like we found ourselves a game against 60 cards _net. I don't know who that is. There's of course the website is 60cards.net. So this is hopefully a good player. We start with a couple of Zubats and also a nice level ball and Sycamore as well. So pretty Pretty strong start for us. Looks like we're up against Night March, and this is actually relatively even to favourable for us. Just because we have the bats, I feel like we have a pretty strong matchup here. We can find ourselves a Pikachu, put DC onto him, Skyfield into play, and just play the Sycamore. Trying to get as much going on our opening turns as we can. Finding another Pikachu is really nice. Trainer's Mail can also help out. We could go for Shauna for next turn, but I think getting rid of Bronzong is fine. Maybe we just want AZ to dump that next turn with our Sycamore. Maybe I just want nothing for a stronger Shaymin. Yeah, I don't think I really need too much here. Let's just go for extra cards with Shaymin. We find another Zubat. That's excellent. So fantastic opening turn from us. Unfortunately, our Sycamore next turn might be quite painful now that we've picked up that Crobat. They are very, very useful against Night March. So here we see a Battle Compressor from our opponent. Let's see if they're playing any Archie shenanigans or anything like that. Could be playing Archie Swampert. Obviously, Empoleon is now out of format. That was the main partner with Night March. In Expanded, it's always Archeops, but often now it's just straight Night March. It looks like our opponent got rid of a Bronzor. That might be a tech just for... it looks like they're going to max revive that back onto the top of their deck and then play a Sycamore. I think that's a tech for Giratina more than anything else. Max revives are played to try and recover some of these Night Marches as well. Pretty strong play. Obviously, there is actual revives that you can use as well in format, but our opponent opting to use max revives, it seems here. So because we have Golbat, I'm happy to go into Zubat this turn. And we're going to put Skyfield back in. We can Sneaky Bite. I think I still want to go for Pumpkaboo. Although Bronzor currently is less healthy, it can evolve into Bronzong, and that's often going to be a bit far out of our reach to go for. So we can just set up once again. We find a very nice Shaymin for us. We find 2 Raichus and another Shaymin, so that was really good for us. And we find a couple of DCEs. I think that really sets us up nicely so that we don't need to Sycamore here. So I'm happy to just retreat and take the knockout. We've really put a lot of good pressure on our opponent. We've got a Raichu for next turn, taking a prize, and we have bats also. So pretty strong from us. We've got a lot going. Our opponent needs to find, once again, a DC and another stadium, which is quite a lot to ask for. We have more bat drops next turn. There is the Dimension Valley, so we can dump a Shaymin. There's also a Bronzong. Then we see a VS Seeker getting that Sycamore again. And we are going to see a Sycamore here. Getting rid of a couple of Joltics. So that's 2, 4, 6 Night Marches at the moment in the discard pile. 1 Metal Energy, but he doesn't have many good outs to use Metal Links just yet. He might be playing an interesting tech card that we've not seen yet with these Metal Energies, but we'll have to wait and see. We do see an Acrobite getting rid of another Bronzong. And then we see another Compressor. And it's likely there's going to be a few more Night Marches in here. Maybe he'll shed some more light on what these metal techs are. We're going to see a Joltik, a Pumpkaboo, and another Bronzor. Then a Joltik is thrown onto the bench. He might choose to Metal Links to that also. We see a DC go onto the Pumpkaboo, and he's just going to Night March to knock out our Raichu here. Putting down that Pumpkaboo is pretty nice for us. It's a cheeky prize we can take almost immediately. Well, yeah, we are going to go for that immediately. And that helps us keep up in the race. We can put down another Pikachu, put down a double Colorless, and I really want to save these bats because they're very important. So getting that Shauna was very nice. We can go for the level ball now. And I think going for Bronzor might be a good play. I think also going for a Pikachu might be a strong play. Maybe even Raichu. We have a teammates to respond next turn, but he's left with just Bronzong here. So I feel like we're in great shape. You notice we did waste one of our bat damages. But overall I think it's okay, seeing as our opponent has not much going on their board. That 20 damage could be on Bronzong right now, but also that's equally kind of bad. Or pretty irrelevant damage either way. But it helped us get into the Crobat, so I still feel happy that we did do the play. We do see a Trainer's Mail for an Ultra Ball that does get played. He's going to find a Pumpkaboo. Now scared of the bats, as you can imagine. He goes for the Pumpkaboo. Bit more survivability than the Joltix. He's going to Metal Links to the bench, also manually attach. Let's see if he has a switching card. Looks like just a Sycamore. I think the fact that he plays 2 Bronzongs indicates he should have 1 or 2 switching cards. We're going to see a Compressor either way. Here we are seeing one of the issues with one of the more modern day Night March decks. Usually with Mew, it meant that even if the Mew got knocked out, you definitely had a Night Marcher next turn to attack with. Now that Night Marchers are the attackers, you've got to have multiple also on the bench, so it's kind of an issue for the new age of Night March. But it looks like our opponent just scooped there. I think we would have gone too far ahead in the prize race, and it's understandable that we were able to win that game. The bats, even just the one Crobat, that was enough to really put a lot of pressure on our opponent. Taking out his next attacker in that Joltik and leaving him with a Bronzong active. Pretty horrible situation. So we have another game against Anderody. And we're going to choose to go first. And we mulligan. And we do start quite nicely. Because we're going first, I'm quite happy to go for Pikachu, I think. Not many things in format right now can hit 60 in a turn. On the first turn at least. So let's see what our opponent's playing. It looks like he's actually playing something that can hit 60 in a turn. Flop with a Strong Energy or a Muscle Band can actually knock out a Pikachu. Which is a bit of a worry. But Mienshao is actually quite a nice matchup for us. The fact that they have Eevee makes it a lot more awkward. But because in standard Mienshao decks you can just use the bats in this matchup to try and just sponge a load of damage. But if he has Jolteons in here, it's going to be a lot more difficult for us. So this should be a good matchup. I think I want to go for another Pikachu. Definitely I want to threaten this Mienshao as best I can. So let's grab another Pikachu. And we're going to attach energy to this one and the Muscle Band as well. If our opponent doesn't have the right combination, I think we could be set here. Could Sycamore away, but I think the DCs are too important. So let's just hand it over here. See how our opponent reacts. He might be tempted to not flop, or if he doesn't have the Strong Energy, we could be in good shape here. We see another Mienfoo off the Karina. Oftentimes they're using Focus Sashes to try and remain healthy, so not many of them play Muscle Band, or at least they don't play multiple. So be interesting to see what our opponent goes for here. Looks like they're just scouting the deck a little bit. They're going to find another level ball. Looks like flooding the field with Mienshaos and other Eevees, maybe even a Hawlucha might be the play here. Looks like they're going for another Mienfoo. We're going to see a Muscle Band onto the Mienfoo. Then there is that energy, so Flop is going to get the knockout. And that's pretty awkward for us. We can go into Pikachu now. And we actually find Shaymin off the top. So I think I want to start attaching to... You know what, I think Shaymin's actually quite a good attacker in this matchup. So I'm happy to just set up for 4 cards. We do find Pikachu. We can attach energy to Shaymin. And then we're going to Ultra Ball to find Raichu to get a knockout response, which is pretty nice. Raichu is obviously weak as well to Mienshow's. But it's something we have to live up to, basically. We've got to deal with it. We've got to find more bats. That's our main threat this game. I'm happy, I think, to Ultra Ball away Skyfield. It's not too big for us in this matchup. It might be the case that I want to get another Shaymin. So maybe getting rid of the Raichu is probably better. So I think I'd rather just drop an extra card and get rid of the energy and the Raichu. So we can find another Shaymin. Ultimately, we want to find more bats. I am holding the Golbat because you want to basically... You need to hold the bats until there's something active with a Focus Sash, because then you can sort of spring a bat on them. Now that we've actually found a Crobat, though, we have other lines of play. The Eevee does have 60 HP. That's kind of annoying. If we... No, I think holding the bat is still the right option here. Yeah, I think just Circle Circuit's the right play here. So we're going to equal up on prizes. We have other options for next turn. We have bats to try and penetrate these sashes if they start coming onto the field. And we'll see what our opponent responds with. They did well to get the prize on the first turn. Our opponent level balls for a Jolteon, obviously seeing the bats can be a threat. Also, if I want to start bouncing around with Shaymins, Jolteon's not going to allow that sort of strategy to go down. So our opponent finds Karina again, going for a Hawlucha this time, as well as a Robosub. That Robosub is going to come down onto the bench and the Hawlucha. And just a retreat, it looks like. So interesting, our opponent didn't go for... They could have Karina'd for like Mienshao and Energy, but they decided not to go down that route. Pretty interesting. Trying to think if it's worth... I could double bat to kill the Robosub and then take a prize. It would likely be the Hawlucha. I could also go for a Sky Return on this and just sort of ignore it and set up a bit more. Interesting. Interesting options. I think double bat is probably a good play. Because we have AZ in the deck, we can try and reuse these bats as best we can. So I think getting rid of these is fine. And double bat could be the option. I think that's what I'm going to go for. It's kind of awkward having to use 2 Golbats rather than just 1 Crobat. But I think it's still worth it here. So that we can take a prize and really try and stamp our authority on this game. So double bat drops to take the knockout for no prizes, but it does force something to basically get killed. He chooses Hawlucha. That was pretty expected. I think Sacred Ash could be used now, just before a Sycamore. But the bat is just so important that I might just Shauna. I could even hold for next turn. I think holding might be the right play, just because how useful these bats are. So we take a prize, go ahead, which is pretty nice. And our opponent goes into the Jolteon. It is a free retreater, so it's pretty obvious. We see another Robosub come down, and then there is a Karina. As you can see, this new Mienshao deck, it does operate very similarly to Donphan, but it is slightly more awkward to deal with. It's mainly based around sashes as well as robo subs. So we've not seen any focus sash as of yet from our opponent, but we are seeing these robos being used early on. Obviously our opponent, seeing the bats, can expect to get played around with focus sash, so pretty smart plays from our opponent here. The fact that he has 2 robo subs now as well makes me kind of not want to start Crobat dropping to kill them. Instead, what we're going to do is go for a Crobat drop on a Mienfoo, and if we Sycamore into energy here, we can actually get a knockout on a Mienfoo, which would be nice. Again, keeping the pressure on, keeping the prize trade going, that's what we're looking to do here. We can Sycamore away some stuff. We do find energy and another Zubat, which is great because we also have the Golbat in hand. And here we can attach to Crobat, freely retreat, and really start putting the pressure on our opponent here. Taking another prize. It would also force our opponent to discard a robo sub, so it's almost the same thing as killing it ourselves, which is really nice. As you can see, the bat's already doing work. Kind of more awkward because he does have the Jolteon. It looks like he's going for a Lysandre play here, bringing up the Shaymin without energy, so it might be a stalling play here. We see that evolution, and also a Hawlucha gets benched, and our opponent does just pass it back over to us. So here we could really take advantage. A Lysandre would be amazing, but we just don't have the option to do it because we do want to move this Shaymin this turn. So it looks like it will be a Shauna play. Just debating if we want to play anything else from the hand. The Golbat doesn't give us too many options right now. The Shaymin could be dumped just to help us out with Shauna in terms of having more outs to finding an energy. But I think just playing Shauna is the right option here. Looks like we missed all types of energy. Bit of a shame. Now the option is, what can we do here? Again, is the Crobat now any more useful? Could get rid of a robot, but it's not too important right now. So I think our opponent has successfully bought themselves a turn to stabilise in this game, which is kind of a worry, but we are still quite far ahead. We see a VS Seeker, a nice gold one for a Karina. And we'll see what our opponent wants. Probably another Mienfoo is important for our opponent here. We've already killed 2 of them. So it looks like he just goes for Hawlucha. It might be the case that he's prized one. Yeah, he's gone for the Sacred Ash. So it's likely that he's prized a Mienfoo. Or he only plays a 3-3 count. I'm not really sure. Having to make space for this Jolteon line and probably some other evolutions in here makes me wonder what his count of Mienshao is. But we do see a strong energy come onto the Mienshao. He does discard the robo sub because Mienshao is a stage 1 and the strong energy comes on. He's going to hit for 100. He actually forgot about the resistance of the Mienshao that does still take effect. I don't know if he forgot or if that was the only play he had available to him, but didn't seem to work out for him there. Here we can go for, I think it is worth going for a Crobat drop here to again try and pick off something else. We're going to go for another VS Seeker play to try and get out of the active this turn. He decides to go into the Hawlucha. I think I do want to keep lowering my hand here. 2, 4, 6, 7. Can put the Bunnelby down to go to 8. I think I really want to keep the Golbat. To try and pop some sashes. But we haven't seen any yet from our opponent. We haven't seen like Eco Arm or any of those techs either. So kind of a weird list. So I think I might want to just put the Golbat down. And go for a Juniper. Just to have better outs of going for the energy here. Because it would be horrible if we couldn't attack this turn. So we'll go for that Sycamore. Again we miss energy. That's really unfortunate for us. Really, really bad. We've only used 2 DCE and 3 Metal Energy. There should be 2 to 3 more DCE in deck, but we've just missed them so far. Really giving our opponent a lot of time, a lot of luxury to get back into this game. And here you can see the troubles of just having 1 AZ in the deck. We've not been able to find it yet. And we're pretty deep through the deck. It's been a combination of misfortune and just us being punished for just playing the 1 AZ. But really this shouldn't be happening. Our opponent has the level ball now. Finding themselves another Mienfoo. He's put them all back thanks to the Sacred Ash. So our opponent gets to bench a couple. Goes for a VS Seeker as well. So our opponent's second VS Seeker. For another Karina. Karina is basically the lifeblood of this Mien Xiao deck. It's one I am interested to profile. I think it's a pretty good deck. But it's one of the reasons why I'm playing Bats right now as well. We do see a Focus Sash go onto this Mienfoo and an Energy as well. So it looks like he's going to go for a flop here to take the knockout. That's exactly what our opponent does. We can go into the Raichu here. And now we find teammates. I think I just want to go for Lysandre on the Jolteon. If we're able to get rid of this Jolteon, his damage is doing a whole lot less to all of our bats. And I think that's the best way to sort of finish off this matchup. So we're just going to Lysandre, take a prize, go down to 2. And we have VS Seeker for next turn again for Lysandre. But also we have these bat plays for next turn. Our opponent decides to go into the other Mienfoo, which is interesting. He already has the strong energy, and we know he has Mienshao in hand. So he does indeed evolve. He also puts the Muscle Band on. It's not relevant. That's extra information that he actually shouldn't have given us there, because it tells me another card in his hand. So he's got like less likely options for like Sycamores and stuff like that. So we can go into the Crobat here. We top deck AZ, which is absolutely perfect. That's literally the best thing we could have top decked, I think. So we can pick up Crobat here. And we can go for a Sneaky Bite. And I think I want to hold these things in hand. I think evolving to Raichu could be bad if he has like Lysandre plays, but I think the Crobats are too troublesome anyway, so I think it's okay to just evolve here. No real need to play anything else from the hand. We can just retreat into Shaymin to take the prize. I think that's the best option here. It gives him no Lysandre plays, so let's go for that. It also retains the energy. So we take a knockout. Opponent's down to 1 prize. We have bats for any other Sash plays he wants. And now that we've got rid of the Jolteon, he really has nothing to deal with this Crobat in 1 hit, from what we've seen so far. So we do see a Mienfoo come onto the bench. And there is a Mienshao, followed by a Muscle Band and a Strong Energy. There's a Hawlucha as well. And as you can see, he does extend the hand. He just goes for the attack with the Mienshao. He has nothing really to do. And he knows we have the DCE from the Sky Return, so we can just retreat. And take the knockout. No need to punish him anymore with playing other cards. But as you can see, even with that Jolteon, I feel like we had a strong... The matchup was always in our hands. We just have the answers for that guy's deck. So there it is, guys. We were able to take down a Night Marcher and that new Mienshao nonsense that everyone is raving about. It can easily be beaten. You just need to have the tools in your deck to do so. So I hope you enjoyed this profile, guys, and I'll see you on Wednesday for the start of our ladder series. I've looked at some of the straw polls, and I think we're going to go with one of those polled ideas as well. So hope you stick around, and I've been Joe from Omnipoke. I'll see you guys next time.